Welcome back to the Royals Review Pod. I'm your host, Dan Worth, joined by Jimmy and Rami. So, all full house for the Wigan win, which, of course, was a fantastic 3 points, 3 goals, 3 points at the Select Car Leasing Stadium at Saturday. I'm pretty chuffed by this, but I want to find out what you think, Rami. You must be pretty happy too.
Yeah, no, it was a great performance. I thought Reading were dominant the whole game. Wigan didn't really turn up at all. Reading just nullified anything they were trying to throw at them. I think there's quite a few blocks for Joe Taylor's shots, and he's an informed striker at the moment. So the fact that we were able to completely nullify him through Dorset, Derek Williams, and Nyambi as well. So, yeah, and I thought it was a great performance overall. And a good way to bounce back from a terrible Saturday last time around. So, yeah.
It's interesting because I think it was last week when you were away, James and I were having this chat about inconsistency. And we were like, well, we do tend to follow up a terrible result with quite a good one. And I was like, I don't want to get too carried away because it might not happen. But it did happen. And I'm sure you think that's the same, Jim, that it was a solid result.
Yeah. I think I'd go one step further. I actually think it was one of our best performances of the season for sure. Like Rami said, I think we controlled the majority of the game and didn't really let Wigan have much sight of goal at all. Obviously, 2 well taken goals from Kelvin and a goal that would have likely led to I think it would have been a savage tap in, but obviously, clinical finishing from the Wigan defender got himself on the score sheet there. Yeah, first clean sheet in 10 for Pereira as well, who I think had an excellent game all round. Fantastic save to deny Vickers what would have been an absolute worldie in front of the club 1871, and of course the pirouette that's been doing the rounds on socials this week. So yeah, fantastic, solid defensively, good going forwards. Man of the match has got to be Kelvin, but I think Nyambi also one of his best games this season for sure.
Yeah, nice. Well, you highlighted a few points then that we'll kind of develop throughout this podcast, but I think it's probably best to start with Kelvin. He was the who scored man of the match. I'm pretty sure all 3 of us probably agree that he was the man of the match, and he's now scored 6 goals in March. You may have seen my tweets earlier, but that's more than anyone else in England's top 4 divisions. So forget your Haalands, your Salahs, everyone else. It's Kelvin. He's a man in March. So I guess the question I wanted to ask both of you is, what do you think's changed? Because when Marriott was injured last time, Kelvin kind of assumed a similar role and wasn't really firing. He comes back this time that Marriott's out, and yeah, everything he touches seems to turn to gold. Are there any big differences, or do you just think it's timing, or I don't really know what it is? Rami, I'll start with you.
Okay. I think there's a mix of things. I think he was thrown into the situation really early on at the start of the season, or when Richardson first joined, because that's when it all happened. Really, it all kicked off there. Yeah. He obviously, because under Noel, he played kind of a different role, and he didn't play the sole striker. He had Marco Armani as one of the main ones, and then Kelvin would come in as a sub, or if he plays a winger, so he'd assume a different role. Whereas when Jack Marriott was out, I think the tactics had to completely change because they were using him as the get the ball to him, score. That's kind of how it was working at the time. And Kelvin, obviously, he has the quality to do that, but at that time, you're transitioning from a winger to a striker. You're used to playing out wide, and now you're playing centrally. It's a difficult kind of transition because you're used to just running at fullbacks or running at defenders, running into the box, or cutting back and shooting. Whereas here you're right at the center. You have to get the headers. You have to make the runs in behind between 2 defenders rather than just one. So I think it was a difficult transition for him, and he had big expectations that I think would have weighed heavy on him. I don't think he was used to at the time. But then now you've got James Beattie obviously working with him. I think it was joint Golden Boot winner, wasn't he, at some point in the Premier League? Someone that knows how to strike a ball, knows what it means to be a main striker. And obviously when Jack Marriott came back, them to work together really closely, from what I understand, in terms of in training, how they can work together in terms of obviously when Jack Marriott comes off, he comes on, that type of thing. So what they both can bring to the table. And then obviously you've got Sean Patton coming back as well. That just built up like the competition for places. So I think it's a mix of he's become more confident in his role. I think he's worked more on trained more as a striker than as a winger, worked with top strikers. And then he just needed that goal to really push his confidence. I think he's a confidence player, so he just needed that goal to really push him. And then when he got that hat trick, I don't think there's not much more confidence you can get than getting a hat trick against Luton, former Premier League Luton. So yeah, I think once he got that hat trick, he was like, actually, I can do this. I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep doing it. And after that game, I think every single game after that, you can kind of see that tenacity, that confidence coming out. He's always running. He's always pressing. He's always getting to those good positions. Like even against Wigan, I think at one point, it's unfortunate that Kamari Dor was kind of standing in the way, but he dribbled past 3 defenders and he ran into the box, went to shoot, but Kamari Dor was just like right in the center. And then he took a shot, Kamari took a shot and it just went a bit wide. But like you can see he's starting to find his stride, starting to become, take that role of a number 9 properly and feel like he can actually, with Jack Marriott or without Jack Marriott, Reading will be fine and he's ready to be that person to take on that role. So,
yeah, I think that's a huge thing, isn't it? A lot of the rhetoric when Marriott was announced out for a long period was, well, how are we possibly going to score any goals? And I mean, I know he didn't score against Stevenage, but the goals haven't really dried up at all. And a lot of that is thanks to Kelvin. And I think back to the start of the season, or even before the start of the season, when there was the kind of saga with his contract and whether he was going to sign with us or whether he was going to go elsewhere, and would he be our main man or would he like play second fiddle, and no one really knew what was going on. And I think maybe that led to sort of what you were saying, where at the start of the season there was question marks from both sides, where he was going to play, how often he was going to play, is he bearing all the pressure, is he not? And maybe now, just with a bit of time with BT, and even Richardson seems to take him under his wing quite a lot, I think. We're finally starting to see the fruits of that, because I don't think any of us, well, correct me if I'm wrong, have seriously doubted Kelvin. We've always known that there's a player there. It's just we're kind of waiting to see it come to fruition. And we weren't certain whether it was on the left or through the middle. And I guess we're starting to see that it's probably through the middle now. Anything to add, Jim?
I think you both hit the nail on the head. I guess I'll start with what you're speaking about, like with Kelvin's attributes. You know, we've seen him on the wing previously, seen how good he is with the ball at his feet, and I guess kind of using his frame to an advantage on the wing. But then when we've seen him in the middle as a 9 at the beginning of the season, terrible. You know, he was getting cheered when he was able to head a ball or bring a ball down. That's how bad it was. Now he looks like a completely different player, and I think you can only really put that down to what Rami said, a mixture of, you know, pressure with Patton coming in after performing an older shot. BT's coaching and influence is probably got to be the main thing, I imagine. And yeah, I mean, I think just the main thing that I have noticed is he's just much more aggressive than we've previously seen. Like, he uses his height and his frame much more to his advantage now. I mean, look at the first goal he scored against Luton. Literally dashed himself at the ball, and it was a goal. Exactly a carbon copy for the first goal against Wigan. Through it, I didn't even think it was much of a chance. Where I was sat in 1871, right behind the goal almost. When Doyle put the ball across, I was like, "It's not. This isn't easy. This chance." Kelvin throws himself at it. Goal. I think like you said, we've spoken previously about how important this season is for Kelvin, and like, I'll hold my hands up. I think we were like slagging him off a bit, saying that he wasn't, it wasn't going well this season. And I wasn't convinced. He was inconsistent. He didn't use his frame to his advantage, and he wasn't scoring much. Now given his games and goal ratio, I think it's like 100. I was looking at it this morning. I think it's a goal every 190 minutes. If you let him play for the whole season, he'd be on track to score like over 15 goals. And for your backup striker, like you're not going to be complaining at that. So yeah, I think for someone who's 22 years old, has got all the like technical abilities of a winger, and is now like using all of that to his advantage as a striker, it's going to be massive for us. And I think he's stepped up tremendously with Marriott out. So hats off to Big Kelv.
Just to add to that quickly, saying that because of how well he's done so far, I won't be surprised, and I think there's already like rumors of other clubs are going to be interested in taking him off our hands, and if they can get, I'm assuming if they can get a good fee, you never know. Because even last season, when the whole contract thing, from my understanding, is that it was being prolonged because other clubs were interested. So you never know what could happen there, but he's proving that he can do it at this level. Can he do it in the Championship? Can he do it in League? Yeah, you never know. So,
well, a bit of luck he signed that contract in summer. Then at least we'll get a little bit more right. But hopefully, if he carries on the way he's playing, hopefully he'll be at Reading for at least another season.
Yeah. Fair play to Kelvin. He's had his fair share of knocks this season, and he's proving all the haters wrong. So we'd love to see it, really, even if I myself have been a hater at points this season. Another player that seems to have turned it around, and this is not a player that I've ever criticised because I absolutely love Joel Pereira, but he has come under some scrutiny recently for some questionable actions, shall we say, and not keeping as many clean sheets as we're kind of used to from his performances last season. But his game against Wigan, ignoring the pirouette, we can talk about that later, but his goalkeeping performance was pretty stellar, and Reading got a clean sheet. Anything to say on JP, Remy?
I think the criticism towards him is a bit harsh. Or like throughout the season, I thought it was a bit harsh. I think goalkeepers are prone to making mistakes. You're not going to be perfect all the time, are you? That's just the reality of the game. And when a striker makes a mistake, yeah, he can get lauded a little bit. But when a goalkeeper makes a mistake, I feel like he's put under a spotlight, basically. Yeah. So I did feel bad for him when he's had a few mistakes, or like he's dropped the ball backs and then it's gone back, and like stuff like that. But I think overall, he's one of the best keepers in League One. And he keeps proving it time and time again. The 1v1 at Burton, the 1v1 at Northampton, the save against Vickers at the end of the game there, he's just, when he needs to actually perform, he performs, and to a very high standard. So I feel like, his mistakes get highlighted more than anything else, but he is, if it wasn't for him, I don't think Reading would be as high up as they are right now. He's put in some really good performances this season that often get missed or forgotten. And he is the vice captain as well. Do you know what I mean? He's a leader behind there, and he's directing the defenders and the midfielders. So, I feel like, Wigan was a prime example of how good he is and how important he is to Reading.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with literally everything you said. I think he's one of the best goalies, if not the best, in League One. I think he's so important to this team. I've kind of said it all season, really, just how good he is and what he does for the team. But more than anything, I think, and you see it post-match, he seems to absolutely love Reading. Like, he plays with such passion, and I love to see that. I love to see that from any of the players. But, Joel Pereira is a huge player for this team and really, really important. And I agree. I think people over-index goalkeepers' mistakes and kind of forget the times that you mentioned where he's done the opposite of mistakes and kept us in games and won us points. So, I'm glad to see him get plaudits after a phenomenal performance against Wigan, because I think he does deserve them. All right, Jim, I guess I'll give you the pleasure of talking about the pirouette and anything else you want to say on Joel Pereira.
Yeah. I was whilst you were speaking in, I was just looking on who scored at the highest rated keepers in the league. It looks, unless my reading wasn't on point, it looks like Pereira is the fourth highest rated. Two of the others are keepers that are like in and around the relegation zone. So I guess naturally, you know, they're facing way more shots. They've got more chance to build up those stats. And then the only other keeper above him is the Lincoln City goalkeeper. So yeah, I mean, I think, you know, what more do I need to say? Who scored? They're always right. So so yeah, we'll leave that there. The pirouette, I mean, I don't think there's much that needs to be said about that either. The first touch, horrendous, but he pulls that out the bag. And I mean, yeah, I don't think you're going to see another keeper do a pirouette anytime soon. But it was just, yeah, it was fantastic. And yeah, the whole stadium was loving it. I think he was even getting a few claps from the Wigan fans. So
it's so funny, and I don't know what's gone through his head, but I just love it. Like, you're right. The first touch is wild, but then to have the confidence to just chuck out a pirouette to try and make up for it is, I love it. I love it.
Unreal.
Like is crazy. I think. I mean, most goalkeepers are, but fair play when you pull things off like that, you deserve all the plaudits. Right, a couple of other players to talk about then. Kamari Doyle, very, very good recently, but withdrawn slightly early at the end. Do you know what the update is with Doyle? I'm assuming probably not, given that we're recording this so quickly after the game. And is there any murmurings of what Doyle is going to do after this season? Is he going to go away, or are we going to go in for him? Hopefully the latter.
So he got taken off as a precaution. I feel like he took a knock. I'm not sure where, but he did take a knock. That's what James Beattie said after the game. So they took him off just to make sure that, yeah, not taking any chances, obviously, with two big games back to back this week, with Good Friday and then Easter Monday. So yeah, because even he said like they wouldn't have taken off because he was the best player in the first half, and he had a stellar performance. He's just come leaps and bounds this season, and it's from my perspective, obviously, because I've come from Brighton, it's really good to see just someone from that academy do so well. But yeah, no, to see the confidence, that the goal he scored against Burton, he keeps showing why he's at the Brighton Academy, why he got picked up by Reading, everything. In terms of the future, I've had a few conversations with some people at the club and just even at Brighton, seeing what's going on there. It's going to be difficult because he's doing so well. So obviously that puts his price up, and that also puts his kind of, stock up in general. And if the way it kind of works in some academies, especially Premier League academies, is like, well, if he could do it at League One, and he's proved he could do it at League One, let's give him a shot at the Championship, or like, let's see if we could do a loan at the Championship. So it kind of all depends on if Reading get promoted, really. If they extend his loan or if they buy him, I don't know what the question mark will be there, because he won't be cheap whatsoever. A lot of people are saying his contract's up in the summer. I don't think that's the case. I think his contract with us is up in the summer rather than his contract with Brighton, because his Brighton contract isn't publicly available. It's one of the contracts. They just haven't put out how long it was, or for whatever reason. But I'm assuming it's a decently lengthy contract with an extension, if need be, like a plus 2 years, plus 1 year, whatever they need to be. And seeing as how he's done so well with Reading, he's done a lot of goal contributions, but it's not just that. It's just his ability to play as a number 10 is just outrageous. And some instances you're like, wow, there's like a proper player here. And he's only 20 years old. And I think people forget how young he actually is. And to be doing it with seniors all around you is quite a feat, to be fair, and taking up that number 10 role and just doing it as yourself. And he's even played on the wing. Like against Wigan, he was basically he was a 10 but a winger at the same time. It was an interesting setup. So I'm not really sure if Reading kind of have a say, or even if they have the power to be like, oh, we want him, or like whatever it is, because he'll be expensive. And I'm saying expensive as in expensive for a League One club. But if they go to the Championship, it's a different story. So,
yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I echo what you're saying. I think he's come on so much since we got him in. Like every time I see him, I feel like he's better and better. And we're at the point now where he's having such a big impact on games that I really do hope he's not injured for a long period, because these last 6 games are absolutely huge in achieving what you spoke about there, and Reading going up. So fingers crossed he's okay. Jimmy, I know you were very impressed by Nyambi. Do you want to take us through what stood out for you from him on Saturday?
Yeah, I just think he was solid defensively and going forward. I remember when we signed him, a lot of Derby fans were like, "Oh, you're never going to see him go further than the halfway line." I think he was pretty much spent half the game playing as a winger. I don't know whether that was because of Doyle taking up this sort of like half position between playing as a 10 and playing out on the right hand side. But yeah, I just thought Nyambi was fantastic going forward, always beating his man, putting decent balls into the box. That second goal was pretty much created. Was it created by him? I can't remember.
It was Doyle. It was Nyambi, Doyle, Savage.
Savage, yeah. But yeah, look, he was playing really well as a fullback, and yeah, helping out defensively, and yeah, just didn't really have any issues with the people that were marking him and playing against him on that part of the pitch. Yeah, so one of the best performances from him for sure.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, I think that's probably enough about the Wigan game. But we go into a massive weekend, Easter weekend, on the back of a win, which has got to do a world of good to the confidence of the players. We've got Huddersfield away on Friday and Lincoln City at home on Monday, alongside all of the 106 celebrations. And I just saw the announcement of the Amazons playing. So we're set for a massive game at Select Carlisle Stadium on Sunday. We won't preview both of them because it will take too long. But I guess I just want to get from both of you, how many points are Reading going to get over those 2 games? Bearing in mind, it is 2 teams towards the top. Well, with Lincoln right at the top in League One this season. Jim, I'll start with you.
I'm going to go for 4 points. Yeah, I think, every game now is massive, but arguably our biggest game of the season is going to be against Huddersfield. I think that's where we can pick up points. So yeah, if we can beat Huddersfield, it's well on. There's a lot of tough fixtures amongst our close rivals in and around the table where we are. So it really is crunch time now for everyone. And then against Lincoln, I would love to pick up something. A point against Lincoln or 3 points against Lincoln would be monumental in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, it looks like they're running away with the league really. So I'm not personally expecting anything there, but it's a huge occasion that day. So you never know.
Yeah, and that 106 team was full of miracles in itself. So maybe we'll get one of the modern day. Rami, are you as positive as that?
I'm pessimistic. I'm going to say 3 points.
That's fine.
I have 6. And I'm going to say it's against Huddersfield. Because, I feel like they've hit a bit of a blip. And I think unfortunately, their manager's like on compassionate leave. Is it that team, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So it's an unfortunate situation. But obviously, that could go either way. It could either spur the team on or do the opposite, where they're like all over the place. So that obviously has an impact psychologically on the game. But at the same time, Reading are going to be coming in with confidence, knowing that they're in 6th place currently, and wanting to make sure that they secure that 6th place. Because if they win, I think they stay in that position comfortably, at least until the other 2 games that are in hand are played. So I feel like there's a big chance. Obviously, our away record is hit and miss. We've been to places and done really well, and been to other places and not done great. So yeah, and Lincoln, they're just in a different league right now. So that's why I'm just like, I don't know if we can pick up a point or 3 from them, because it just proves how well a club can do if it's run properly, done the right recruitment, just everything from the ground up, from the football all the way to the top. It's just yeah, you can see them. They're definitely championship worthy. So yeah.
Hopefully they're on the beach for our match already, so it's an easier fixture. But
Yeah, well, just hope that Reading players aren't on the beach because this is a huge weekend. If we can get if we can get 3 or 4 points, I think we can say that that's all right because no one really expects to beat Lincoln, and then we can go from there. Obviously, still have Cardiff and a few other tough games, but a few of the other clubs around us have tough games too. Stevenage, I'm probably worried about the most now because they've got 2 games in hand on us and only 1 point difference. Wickham and Plymouth are also just lurking. But I mean, my prediction is 3 points, much like you, Rami. I think we'll beat Huddersfield because they're kind of all over the place form-wise at the moment. I just feel like we go into it with a bit of momentum and the players will be well up for a fight. Lincoln at home, I'm slightly nervous results-wise, but I do wonder if it being a big occasion, Easter Monday, all of the kind of pre-match celebrations that will be going on, Steve Coppell in the building, Sir John Madejski, like all of the players that have made this club what it is today, albeit 20 years ago. I don't know, maybe we can achieve something similar to what they achieved back then. And beating Lincoln would throw this playoff race wide open. And I feel like if we beat both of those teams, you've got to think that we probably do it. I don't want to get too carried away.
what
If Reading can beat Lincoln and Huddersfield, I think there's a high chance they'd be able to do it because the games after that are like not as hard. Obviously, Cardiff's Cardiff. It's going to be a difficult game either way. We've got Doncaster, Rotherham, Blackpool.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What if we lose against Huddersfield but beat Lincoln? That would be somewhat bittersweet. I'd be fuming that we got the result against Lincoln because we threw it away against Huddersfield. If we lose against Huddersfield, I feel like we have to pick up something against Lincoln or Cardiff.
That's a good point.
That's the problem.
Yeah,
that is a good point. But I'm really looking forward to this weekend. Just football galore. And I just hope Reading can get 2 wins because I mean, the post-match Lincoln pod is going to be, I don't know, I won't be able to stop smiling.
We can record it in the pub.
Can record it in the pub, straight after the game on Monday. That'd be fun.
I'll be happy to do that, man.
Yeah, let's do it. Well, maybe not if we lose, actually. I don't think I'll be in the mood. But one last question then before we go. In fact, sorry, I think I've got 2. Any update on Jack Marriott and whether he'll be back before the playoffs?
No.
Fine.
Nothing. The only thing that Richardson said is he might be back for the last 2 games, but that's just an if. It's not even
semi-finals and finals. Then perfect.
Exactly.
Nah, the second leg of the semi and the final, save him. And then the last one is: can I get all 3 of your top 6s at the end of the season? I mean, I'm just going to go with how it is now. Keep it simple: Lincoln, Cardiff, Bolton, Bradford, Stockport, Reading. Jim?
I'm going to go Lincoln. Obviously, I think they're nailed on favourites. Cardiff, I can't see moving. I think Stockport. I think they've got favourable fixtures, and that'll see them jump up to 3rd come the end of the season. On the flip side, Bolton, poor recent results, and they've got difficult fixtures, so I think they'll drop down. Then I've gone Bradford, and I think out of the teams that are have been in and around the playoffs for the whole season, they're the most likely to drop out. But there's a reason that they're still there. So I reckon they'll stick in. And then 6th spot, Plymouth. I just think they're on a great run at the moment. They look solid. I think we'll literally just miss out. I just don't think we've been consistent enough. Some games we play brilliantly. The next game it will be, one of the worst of the season. Obviously, hope I'm wrong. And like we've just mentioned, a result against Lincoln or Cardiff will be absolutely monumental. But yeah, I think we'll just miss out by literally a point or 2.
Yeah, fair enough. Rami?
I'm going to go Lincoln, Cardiff, Bolton. I don't know who to go for fourth.
Reading.
Well, I want to say Reading, but I reckon they'll be fifth.
Nice.
So, yeah, I don't. Oh, mate.
It's
I
so
reckon
hard.
Plymouth fourth. I'll go Plymouth. They have quite a few games to go, and they're really strong. So I'm going to go Plymouth, Reading, Wickham, which is a really weird shout. But Wickham are like starting to pick up pace, and Bradford have dropped form completely. They've lost 2 and drawn 1 in the last 3. They're losing steam here. I don't think they can keep it up. And I think Stockport, they've got like a decent fixture list to go, but I feel like they could drop points quite easily as well, because they're playing Wimbledon, who can perform. Exeter are fighting for their life. They're playing Mansfield, Peterborough, Port Vale, who have picked up some form, and Barnsley. So I feel like Stockport might not be able to finish it off, whereas Wickham are full of confidence now, from what I've heard from my colleagues and from what I've just seen as well. Reading are starting. Well, we've been in kind of playoff form for the last little while. Obviously, we had a few blips in terms of Port Vale, Mansfield, and Stevenage, but so I feel like Lincoln, Cardiff, Bolton, Plymouth, Reading, Wickham.
Nice. I mean, it's 2 of us going for Reading in the playoffs.
Yeah, the majority of Royals Review podcasts suggesting that Reading get playoffs. Then I'm happy with that.
It's quite fun, isn't it? Because I'm pretty sure when we asked that question last week, said we wouldn't make it. But there we go. What a week can do in football. I've just realised there is actually one more question, and it was: is this season a disappointment if Reading don't make the playoffs?
No,
absolutely not. I think. We've said it all before. I know playoffs is what everyone hopes for, and every week you're like, are we going to get it? Are we not? But I think it's all about just being stable and building for the next season. And I think those foundations are definitely there.
Yeah, I agree. We actually covered that off at length last week, didn't we? That this season was a bit of a foundation builder, getting over the post-De Jong era, all that kind of stuff. So
I can throw a nugget in that it's going to be a big summer. A huge summer. So
there we go. So anyone that's listened for 32 minutes will leave there with a nice little nugget from Rami, which brings us nicely to a close then. As we mentioned, a huge weekend of football. Hopefully Reading perform well over Easter weekend. Enjoy the football. Thanks very much for listening. Cheers to Rami and Jim too. We'll be back after that Lincoln game to talk about a huge 6 points over the Easter weekend. Catch you next time. Cheers, guys.
Bye.